We also have reading comprehension. So for reading comprehension, like they start, so this is like silent reading comprehension. So that means that we present items to the students, and we're going to show you like an example in a second. And they read it to themselves, and then they're just going to tell me the answer. So early items, again, for those kids who are 4, is very like matching symbols to words and see, I don't know, if they see a stop sign, then if what is the word that goes with that. But then like later on, they may have sentence that they read, and they have to complete like the words that is missing or what is the meaning. But later items is going to be reading passages. So they will have a paragraph or a story that they have to read, and they have to answer the questions. And I'm going to show you an example about that. Okay, I went too fast. Okay, so reading comprehension. Again, like this part is what I see, like the part that you see with the red on it. So also have the correct responses, because sometimes it can be more than one that is correct. So I have it here, so I know like how to make a decision very quickly, how to score. So then like we just present this, they read the passage, and then they say, okay, number 1, and they say the answer. So we have here what they see, and we have again the instructions. This read this story and answer the questions. Say the number of each question when you answer it. We also have like a prompt there. If it's taking too long, now answer these questions. So we know again it's a standard. So it's standardized. So we need to kind of follow what is in here. So that's a sample of reading comprehension. So this is reading fluency. So for reading fluency, when I told you that there's going to be sample items. So before we start like the fluency test, I want to know if they know how to do it. So then like, for example, here I say, is water dry? They will say no. I say, okay, like I mark there like a no. And then I kind of follow a script that I do for that, for the sample items. And then we have the teaching items. And again, like this time we let them do it by themselves, and we want to know if they can do it. And this is like very simple reading, but we want to know how fast they can read. And then this is like the assessment. And then they will have for that one, I believe like for KTA, it's like 3 minutes, like some of them is like 2 minutes that they get. And then, so I have this reading fluency here. Okay, so it will tell you for that one, like how long is you going to have. And when you have like kind of your booklet with you. And let me see, any questions about that so far? But that one is one of, and actually that one is 2 minutes. So they get 2 minutes, and so you will have instructions here. So you can have it also where you are recording the answers, you will have the kind of instructions there too, in that way that you know. So for that one, when we start here, we keep a timer for 2 minutes, and we just give them exactly 2 minutes, but we want to make sure again, like they know how to do this before we administer this part of the subtest. Okay, so math concepts and applications. So for this one, they respond orally to different items that require the application of mathematical principles and real life situations. So we have the different areas. So it can be number concepts, operation concepts, it can be time and money. There is like sometimes that kids, they will ask me, they will have a picture, for example, of different quarters, dimes and nickels, and they have to count how much money is there. And then they will ask me, oh, what is this? But I'm not allowed to tell them. So sometimes we see like some kids having difficulty. It can be with money or even with time, when they have a clock and they have to say what time is it there. Since we now have time on our phone and we don't use much of traditional clocks, then like they are going to be students that they may have questions about that. But again, we want to know if they know it. We cannot provide feedback. They are going to be measurement questions, geometry, fractions and decimals, data investigation, and higher math concepts. Again, it starts very simple, but it gets harder. Okay, and this is a sample. This is a story problem. So they provide an answer. Also want to let you know, like for math story problems, we read to them the passage that they have in front of them, because we are not testing the skill of reading comprehension. We are testing math. So I want to know if they can problem solve, if they can figure out the answer without taking reading into account. So if you say, in my view, examiner's view here, we have in red that we have to read to them. And this is a response here. So for this problem is going to be number 9. And we have like a picture here of what they see, what they are seeing in their view. Okay, so we will continue. That way we have time for questions at the end. So math computation. So this is just different computations and they write their answers. And I will show you a picture in the next slide. And then it's when we have the response booklet for them. Skills can be just simple counting, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, but it can get harder to fractions and decimals, square roots and exponents, and also algebra. Okay, so we have a sample here of math computation. So this is number 1, as you see, is like how many apples are there. They just count that, and that's for kids who are 4. So we start there, it's very simple. But then we have later items that they start getting hard. Because again, like somebody in high school, we're not going to start with counting. They are going to get very frustrated. It's why we have like a starting points for this. And then we have different items there. But again, they provide their answer in the response booklet. We have rules for these too. So when they get, for example, 4 zeros in a row, then we know we stop. Because the same thing, we are not going to administer like this the entire subtest to somebody who is maybe just 5 or 6. So they are going to get frustrated. So it's why when we see that they are getting like incorrect responses, then we stop that test. Okay, we also have a spelling. We have a picture of a bee, like a spelling bee. And again, like we are going to ask the students to spell different words. They start very simple, but then gets very hard. Okay, so for writing, so it's from pre-kindergarten to kindergarten level. So also if we look at the bottom, like we have Form A and Form B, they're going to be different booklets and it's depending on the level. So level 1 is pre-K and K, so kindergarten 2. So level 2 is grades 1, first grade and second grade. Level 3 is third grade and fifth grade. And then in level 4 is more for 6th to 12th grade plus. So for the writing, is when it gets different about the different subtests. For example, in the WJ, they tend to be writing sentences. For the WIAT, there is a part that they do more like a paragraph, like an essay for the WIAT. And for this, is a combination of, so there is some of the booklets, they will have one of the last pages is like, okay, now you write a letter to this person, or you're going to be writing to the newspaper. So then they will produce more than just sentences, but the beginning items tends to be sentences. And for the booklets, depending on the level, we give the entire booklet to them. Do we have any questions about writing? Again, this is, I think, is a subtest that tends to be kind of different between the different achievement tests. And Emily say, like, we know less about the writing. Like for reading, we really know the big 5 and what we are looking at. For the writing, it gets more complex. Is maybe why different companies, they will kind of adjust the writing in different ways, and it can be from just sentences to having like an essay. Okay, so this is like more information about the KTA. So this is an online training. So it's about 3 hours and 30 minutes, but you don't have to complete the entire training. You can watch it in chunks. I remember I got this information from a conference because, as I say, in 2014, when I was in grad school, many of the tests, they were changing, including the KTA and the WJ. They are from 2014, and then we have to learn like a new test. So when I went to a conference, like I asked the company, okay, do you have any training or anything that I can see additional information about the KTA 3 compared to the 2? So they have like this training. So I put the information here, and you will get a copy of the slides. So if you want to know more about the KTA, then you can look at it. because again, it's hard, like with the time that we have, like cover like everything, and show you everything that entails like giving one of those tests. But at least you have an idea now what it is. And I hope when we can do this in the future, like live presentations, maybe it's going to be easier to see the demonstration because you can see right in there how we set up everything and how we do it. Okay, now I have a case study. So this is Leah. She's 17 years old, six months. She has been in the school for more than 11 years. So she is homeschooled. She's not taking medications. She was referred to us because of academic difficulties. And especially they were concerned maybe math. It was harder compared to the other subjects, but they want to know how she was doing, how she was compared to her peers, especially being homeschooled. They were not quite how she was doing. Again, this is just a reminder, this is the normal distribution of scores. When we see scores between 85 and 115, that means that that's average. Like compared to her peers, she's going to be in the average range. She's doing similar to her peers. If we see scores above this, like in the blue area, 115 to 130, that means she's doing kind of better, like she's in that area and she's above that average there. But we can also be below, and that is like 70 to 85, or we can even get to the yellow areas. So this is just a reminder, like when we look at the scores, in a way we can make sense of them. Okay, so I'm going to present the scores and pay attention. We will have a learning check in a little bit. Okay, so this is intellectual functioning. I'm just not going to go in details about the IQ test because next time we are going to have an entire presentation about intellectual functioning or IQ tests. But basically, what the number that we are taking is the General Ability Index 123. So she have different scores, but we saw like working memory and processing speed, like 97 and 92. They were in the average, like compared to high average, like reasoning or verbal comprehension. So then her full scale was 111, high average range, but those two, they were pulling down. So when we have concerns that working memory or processing speed may be different from the rest of the scores, we can use the General Ability Index because it's not taking that into account. But again, like you're going to learn more about this into like next presentation. So again, like the number that we use is 123. And she was in the superior range and her percentile is 94. So it's very high percentile. So this is her academic achievement scores. And this is using the KTA. So we have the different subtests here. So letter word ID recognition, 134. So she is in the high range. So that's very high. Remember, like 85 to 115, that's the average. So she got 134. She was a very strong reader. Silent reading fluency, 120. That was above average, like reading comprehension, 130. And then we have math concepts and applications, 91. Math computation, 83. Writing expression, 133. So that's high. So the reading compositive, so it's adding all of the readings together, she got 136. So that was high. Because again, like reading was very good for her. And math compositive was 86.